right, wonderful. Well, thank
Hello,
you guys,
Debbie.
everyone, for being here for our Thursday morning virtual coffee. Um, for those of you who I haven't met before, my name's Debbie Morrow. I founded the Real Estate Agent Referral Network and Marketing Tips. Wow, it's a long name. Facebook group about 3.5 years ago. We have almost 290,000 members now. And you know what I absolutely love? Every day I'm in there approving posts, and you guys are passing referrals like crazy. So I love it. I know I probably approve 40 or 50 referral posts every single day. So I love that you guys are doing business together and building those relationships. So it's amazing. Thank you for doing that. This morning, we have a special guest speaker who kind of stepped in at the last minute for me. It was perfect timing. And he is here today. He has a pretty impressive resume. He's a young gun, only 26 years old, and is a self-made millionaire with a very impressive portfolio of real estate. So his name is Logan Haskins. And so Logan, please introduce yourself and share with everyone how you did what you did.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on this morning, and good morning, everyone. Yeah, just like Debbie was saying, I'm 26 years old. I'm out of the Tulsa, Oklahoma market. And so I got started in real estate by starting a wholesaling company. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with wholesaling real estate. And I actually grew that into a nationwide company. I sold my portion of the business almost 3 years ago now. But we were doing deals in 48 different states. We were, doing six-figure months almost every single month. And I transitioned from that business into more of like buying and holding real estate. So now I own a big portfolio of single family homes. I have some mobile home parks. We just closed on a 23,000 square foot warehouse last month. We've got small multifamily units. So yeah, I kind of consider myself like a Swiss Army knife of assets and real estate. But yeah, I wanted to jump on here. My favorite thing to do on like any type of call is to just provide as much free value as I can. And I'm assuming most people on here are realtors, if not all of them.
Realtors, lenders.
Okay, realtors and lenders. Perfect. That's actually, well, with this topic, it might be perfect because I was last night, just like Debbie was saying, I kind of came in last minute, so I was, sitting in bed thinking like, I'm not a realtor. My wife is a realtor, but I'm not in that arena every day. So I was like, man, what can I talk about that's really gonna provide a lot of value for realtors? And so just by, I can see quite a few people in here, but if you've heard of this, give me a thumbs up like that. Have you heard of Subject 2? Anybody in here? Got a couple thumbs up. Okay. Awesome. How many of you guys are doing Subject 2 deals right now as an agent? Anyone? Okay. Well, in my opinion, as an agent, this is a strategy that can probably, if you get with the right people, double your business at the moment. Because it introduces you to a lot more options that you can provide not only to your clients. I was working on a sub 2 last year. Awesome. To your clients or towards your buyers. So I'm actually in, if you guys have ever heard of him, Pace Morby, I'm in his actual paid mastermind group. It costs about $8,000 a year to be in the mastermind group. So I would love to connect any agents. If you, I'll put my email in the chat here in a little bit and just email me what market you're in, and I can introduce you to probably hundreds of people that are going to be clawing at the neck for some deals. But for those of you guys who haven't heard of Subject 2, let me give you kind of like a quick elementary school breakdown of it. So Subject to is a strategy where you take over an existing mortgage. So, but don't get it confused with a loan assumption, because it is not a loan assumption. An assumption, the lender would have to approve that person to assume that loan. And subject to is a way of taking over the mortgage without having the lender's approval, in a legal way, by the way, because you can look up subject to. It's on the IRS website, actually. And so basically, the reason this is a great strategy for realtors is because, especially in my opinion right now, obviously interest rates are starting to drop, but they're still a lot higher than they were, 2-3 years ago. I'm sure a lot of your guys' businesses have slowed down compared to 2 to 3 years ago. And houses are just sitting on the market because interest rates are high. In my opinion right now, people aren't shopping for the house anymore. They're shopping for the payments, right? They're starting to give up a little bit of their dream house to get their dream payments, in my opinion. So subject to is great because let's take me for an example. If I'm an investor and I'm looking for the next rental property of mine, well, if I go to my commercial lender right now, I'm going to get an 8.5% interest rate on a 20-year amortization, which is not great. Trust me, right now we're struggling, making deals work these days. But if I go to a house that's been sitting on the market for 100 days, they haven't had any offers, and they need to sell that house, right? They need out of that house. If I come in and I say, hey, I'll buy your house at your price point, but it's on my terms, and I figure out that the seller has a 4.5% interest rate, and it's on a 30-year amortization, well, all of a sudden, that deal makes a ton of sense to me, right? Because my cash flow is going to increase dramatically. And so that is why subject to is such a great strategy. I could really get into the weeds of it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my email in the chat here. And if you guys are interested in getting more buyers, investors in your area, in your market, that I promise you are going to do a ton of business with you. Because if you're willing, I always tell agents this all the time, if you're willing to be an adaptive agent and be different than the other agent, you're going to win at the end of the day. Because if you guys work with investor clients and actually actively learn some of these creative financing strategies, while the other agents, they're just going after the biggest, baddest house, right? But if you can nail down this strategy, I promise you that you are going to probably double your business this year just alone. Because like I was saying, especially right now with how interest rates, like me and my team, we're going after subject to deals this year heavy because of the interest rates. I don't want to go get an 8.5% loan on a 20-year AM. Or sometimes right now, even, the typical thing is a 15-year AM, and also the bank wants, $100,000 deposit at the bank. Like, banks are not friendly right now. So this is the perfect time to dive in and learn about this strategy. And so what I'm doing by giving you guys my email is I'm giving you guys my access to that group for free, because I wanted to make sure that I provided a ton of value on this call and give you guys more buyers and more investors to work with. And if you have no idea what subject to is, you can go to YouTube, type in Pace Morby. He has thousands of videos for free on how to learn about what subject to is. And I want to make it clear at the beginning, it's going to sound super complicated, but it's not complicated. You as a buyer are taking over the seller's mortgage at the rate and terms that they have. And that's pretty much the black and white of what a subject to deal is. But with that being said, I also wanted to talk about how I even got on this call and and kind of wrap into my next subject. So I got on this call because my personal executive assistant, Anne, and she actually runs our property management company as well. She lives in the Philippines, and she does outreach every single day to groups like this for me to come speak at, or events all over the country for me to come and speak on a stage. So she reached out to Debbie, and like Debbie was saying, it was perfect timing. And Debbie called me yesterday. She was like, "Hey, can you hop on at 9 a.m. tomorrow?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" But what is so amazing about that is I didn't know Debbie from, Adam and Eve, but I looked up Debbie, and she has built this incredible, massive group of almost 300,000 people. So what I'm getting at is, think about how powerful that is, right? I have someone doing outreach for me that just connected me with someone who has a group of 300,000 members that pretty much had no idea who I was. Debbie read about me, listened to some podcasts that I'm on, all that kind of stuff. But how I got there was by hiring the right virtual assistant. So I'm going to do another thumbs up. Who in here has a virtual assistant right? Okay, quite a few. We got 7 up there. You got 7 virtual assistants? There we go. I love it. Okay, we got another 7. That's great. So if you don't have a virtual assistant, and I think the people that have them on this call can attest to this, you need one. I started out with, obviously with my wholesaling company, we hired tons of them. We had cold callers, transaction coordinators, all that kind of stuff. I've been working with VAs for over 4 years. Now I have something I didn't say about myself is I own a few different companies. I own an HVAC company here in Tulsa as well. Gabriel, he's in Honduras. He's our operations manager. He runs our business every single day from Honduras. Now, if you guys can name another HVAC company that's doing that, I would love to hear it, because I promise you can't. And so what I get to do by that is not only save money, I get to change people's lives, because my VAs are sending their kids to private school, they're buying their parents' houses, all kinds of stuff. They're crying when they get Christmas bonuses. And I think we know in America, if we pay someone $1,000 a month, that's not going to be the reaction that we get. But yes, I have 11 VAs. Everyone needs a VA, or 12. That's true. 11. That's quite a bit. And my buddy Blade, who's on the call, actually, he owns a pole barn company. They build pole barns. They're gonna do. They did 10 million last year. They're probably gonna maybe double it this year. He has, I don't even know, probably 15 to 20 VAs that basically run the entire company. Anytime he gets a quote, it's boom, going in. They're spitting out quotes within hours. Blade has sent out close to 300 quotes just this week, and it's Thursday. And so what I'm getting at is the power of a virtual assistant. Just like in our HVAC company, if you guys call any of my competitors right now and say, "Hey, I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's 1,500 square feet. Can I get a quote?" They're not going to give you a quote over the phone. There's a problem with that. One, they want to send out a salesperson and get the sale. Okay, we know that works because that's the model that people are doing. But I'm telling you guys right now, what I'm doing is looking at the market right now and the trends, right? People are getting sick of salesmen. And I'll tell you exactly why. Anytime we all have these, anytime we get on this and we open an app, what is happening? We're getting sold something. Something is being sold to us. People are so sick and tired of being sold. They just want to call. I've got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 1,500 square feet. What, I already have the ductwork. I need new equipment. Can you give me a bid? Sure thing. We'll get you a bid in an hour. And guess what? I'm going to get that bid every single time because the other companies, they are trying to send salespeople out, do a huge sales pitch, and jack up their prices because they're sending up a sales guy out. I don't have to do that. You know why? Because I'm not paying a sales guy $250,000 a year to go out and sell a unit. So my margins can come down, and I'm still more profitable than the other company because my operations manager lives in Honduras for $1,200 a month. So, and they want to talk to a person on the phone and not a chatbot. That's true, yeah. But we're gonna have to see how good AI gets because it can get really good and it's gonna be really scary. But we'll see what happens. But yes, I agree with that 100%. So where I'm getting with this is, my question is, if you don't have a VA, I'm wondering why you don't have a VA. Because another issue that I constantly see with people is, if you're a realtor and you love being a realtor and you're out there hustling, you're doing everything, right? You guys are showing clients homes, you're outreaching to new buyers, you're writing up contracts, you're transacting the actual coordination, you're making sure that the deal gets to the closing table, and that doesn't even give you time to have kids, right? I mean, your whole life is consumed by your business. And that's one of my passions, is like, how can I get people whose lives are consumed by their business to buy back their time? My favorite saying is, you're not buying a VA salary, you're buying back your life. Because if your first one can be someone who is just your right-hand man, and think about it this way, if they were here in the United States, what would that mean? Maybe checking some emails for you and getting you some coffee, right? Well, if you can translate that into them being a little bit of a Swiss Army knife for you, maybe they're transacting deals for you, but maybe you only do 2 deals a month. Maybe you're not like smoking it like these other people, and you think you can't justify the hiring, but you can, because if you're only doing 2 deals a month, how much else can they do for you? How many clients, how many buyers can they outreach for you in a day versus what you can do? Because if you're out hustling trying to get more leads on your own, where's all those other leads going? They're not going to you, they're going to your competitors, and you're not getting them. So if I was an agent, what I would do is I would hire one as a transaction coordinator and kind of like an executive assistant role, because you guys need to be focused at what you're best at. And for most agents, that's, sales, is selling a home. And if your focus is in 10 different places, there are a few members of this group making a post asking for recommendations. Yeah, I'm going to get to that here in a second. But if your focus is in 10 different directions, it's never going to happen. So before I make my recommendation, I want to make a full disclosure. I am an investor in the company, and I'll tell you guys why I even want to make the recommendation, because of the fact that I've been working with VAs for the past 4 years, and I've dealt with like dozens of recruiting agencies, and this is the best one that I've found. One, the quality of the people that they're hiring, and 2, the actual hiring process. They just have it nailed down. It's the best. My whole team are VAs all over Mexico. I love the model. Okay, so they got some Latin American people. We have some Latin American VAs as well. But I basically, I invested in this company because it was the one that I'm the biggest believer in. I've been through lots of recruiting agencies where they're super unfair to the client. All they want is a placement fee. This company actually doesn't even charge you a placement fee. So if you guys are interested, you have a free 2-week trial on an employee. And they don't ever charge you a placement fee. So you can try it out for 2 weeks. If you don't like the virtual assistant that they hired from you, you don't have to use them. And that was one of my favorite things about it, because a big problem when we owned the wholesaling company, we're spending 20, 30 grand a month in marketing. We needed a ton of people on our team. We would go broke just by hiring more people, because we're paying $2,500 for a placement fee plus their salary every single time we're hiring someone. And so, we'd be 10,000, 12,000 a month just in trying to hire more people. And half those people didn't even ever end up working out. And so that's why why I am an investor in this company, is because I believe in it so much. And I think that the quality that they provide is just unmatched. Just for example, yesterday they placed a VA for a home builder here in the Tulsa market, and he was wanting someone that can draw plans. We literally have VAs that have engineering degrees. So about as nitty or gritty as you want to get with the type of industry that you're looking for, this company can provide, and that's why I was an investor in it. So I'm going to type it in the chat right now, and you can go on there and schedule a free consultation. And also, once you do that, like I said, this company does not charge a placement fee. I think it's one of the biggest freaking advantages out there. I think any competitor that you're going to go to, they're charging some kind of placement fee, and they charge it up front. So you don't even get to interview before, or you have to pay for the entry fee before you even get to interview anyone. What range of hourly rates? So that depends on the job, but really, I would say for most things, you're looking at about $1,000 a month, or $250 a week. So really affordable for most people in here, I'm assuming. And so, yeah, I would love to, Debbie, I wanted to end this call with saying, like, I would love to come back on here with some time to actually prepare some stuff too. I thought about staying up all night last night, but I decided not to.
No problem, Logan. And certainly we can we can figure out a time a little bit further down the road that you can come back. I do see Peggy has her hands up. It looks like she has a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, back to subject 2. So after subject 2 was accepted, it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that you could not assume a loan, take a loan over. So you had to go through all the rigmarole that you just talked about. So my question to you is, in the loan documents itself, it says if title gets changed, the loan can be called.
Yes.
How do you teach people do you tell them to put it into a trust, or do you show them how to put them into property management and write to them and tell them that the property management company is taking it over? And because once they start looking at title, they'll call the loan. Ask me how I know. I've done several, and on one of them the loan got called, and it got called because we changed
the deed
insurance companies. So she just added on to the problem was she didn't have insurance in place at the time. So.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So yes, obviously that's a risk. Whenever people ask me that, I always like to give kind of like this hyperbole. If you work at Target and you don't show up to work in a red shirt, you're probably going to get written up, but you probably won't get fired, right? And so, yes, can the bank assume your loan or call the loan? Sorry. Yes, they can. The bank can call your loan for anything they want, though. In reality, if they could call it on me today, if interest rates go to 10% and they decide like being assholes that day. But the best way that we found to avoid that whenever we're doing a subject to transaction is we do create a land trust. And so let's say Peggy was the seller and it was going from Peggy to Logan. I would create a Peggy land trust. So it would literally be called Peggy Land Trust. So when the bank goes and looks at it, they go, okay, it went from Peggy to Peggy Land Trust. That's normal. And they keep it moving down the line, because people put their properties in a trust all the time. And if you really want to get super safe about it, we've even done it where Peggy would be a beneficiary to my trust. And then as soon as it's closed, we sign another paper where you hand over your rights right back over to me. And so we've done that. It's all about, to me, it's about the comfortability of the client and how well you can describe it to both parties, right? The reason for example, we did where the lady was the beneficiary and we handed back over the rights, she was just super uncomfortable. She was nervous. She had to, the reason the deal even worked out, she had to move to Dallas for her job and she needed to sell her house. She had zero equity in her house. By the way, this is the perfect strategy for people who have zero equity. I mean, it's golden. And so she needed out fast and she didn't have any money. So I gave her some moving money. And, but to most people, she was in a rush, right? So I had to condense the strategy in like 2 weeks. And so she was a little freaked out. And so I brought a real estate attorney there with me, explained everything to her. And so to me, in my opinion, it's all about how you can relate to the client. But I would absolutely recommend that you do a land trust and maybe do the strategy like I was saying, where you name the trust Peggy Trust, and then you are the owner of that trust. But another point to that is, I mean, there's people that do it all the time and they'll just deed it into their LLC and the loan will never get called. I've even, one of my friends, he got the loan called. It's actually a hilarious story. He got the loan called. It was from one of the big lenders, like Mr. Cooper, I think. And he got a letter in the mail that it was being called. He sent them some mail and said, can you give me 6 months? I'm not even joking. This is a real story. A year later, they sent him a letter that says, no, we can't give you 6 months. And the property was already sold. So my point in that is a lot of these big lenders are slow moving like that too. But I mean, yeah, there's risk to everything. You got to know, your P's and Q's, your strategy if something like that were to happen, and just keep it moving, in my opinion. So I hope that answered the question for you.
Excellent. Thank you, Logan. Does anybody else have a question for Logan? Okay, I don't see any hands up and nobody unmuted themselves and just started talking. So I'll give it 5 more seconds. Anybody else?
I'll ask
Well, I always have a, oh, go ahead.
I'll ask this question then. What
Yeah.
about prospecting for the subject twos? What's been the most effective?
The most effective is honestly going after properties that have been sitting on the market for a long time, and those people are worn out and they want to sell. And the reason I meant to say this earlier, the reason it's so important for realtors to know about this strategy is because other realtors don't. They do not have any idea. They don't care to learn. Like I said, they want to go after the biggest, baddest house. So the reason it's advantage to you guys is because if I come to a realtor and I'm like, hey, I'm an investor, blah, blah, they just kind of brush me off half the time. But if I was a realtor, I'm like, hey, can I teach about this strategy for 10 minutes? And, I think this is really advantageous to your client because you can't sell their house. And I have a way that you can sell their house. They're probably going to listen to you guys better than they're going to listen to me just because I don't have that tag next to my name. So that's a great area to look, is houses that have been sitting for a long time that can cash flow immediately. The other one is zero equity houses, people that have no equity. I'm sure you guys have like a beefed up version of PropStream or something where you can pull lists from. Those are kind of our 2 favorite targets, because people who don't have any equity, if they need to get out of their house, they don't really have many options to begin with. and most of them don't want to become a landlord. So they would rather take a little bit of money up front and let someone take over their loan. Because in all reality, guys, if we think about the average American doesn't make a lot of money. What is their biggest expense? Their mortgage payment. If you can take care of that problem for them, they're going to be good most of the time. You're not, I mean, obviously that's not the case in every case, but I'm saying in the average case, the biggest expense is their mortgage payment. And if you can get that off their hands, then you're solving a lot of problems.
Okay, one last question, Jackie.
Oh gosh, it's the last question. Oh no, better be good. Well, Logan, I appreciate all your information. I'm excited to hear you, give more details for your next presentation. But I was curious, like being so young and listening to like Debbie talk about you. I was just curious, like, how did you get involved with doing real estate and become a millionaire in your 20s? Because I would like to have you meet my son, who's 15, so that he can do that in 5 years. So if you would kind of give us a little background, like were your parents in real estate? Was there something that happened that kind of brought you to the point, or like what, how did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there was something that my own personal realization that brought me to the point. But no, I've always been interested in real estate. Like in high school, I'd read about it. I knew that it was like probably the number one path. And I always heard people talk about real estate, So I know I wanted to get into it eventually. I just didn't know the correct path back then. And so actually, I was a commercial HVAC technician. That's what I started out doing. And I basically learned that I didn't want to do that anymore. So I saw a friend back in Kansas City. I'm actually from Kansas City. I moved to Tulsa about when I was 18, so about however many years ago that was. But anyways, I saw him and he was wholesaling real estate. He was posting like checks on his Instagram, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? And he told me he was wholesaling real estate. So I started to look into it. And honestly, from there, I'll tell you a funny story real quick. I was trying to wholesale and be an HVAC technician at the same time. Well, if you know anything about being an HVAC technician in the summer, that just doesn't work because I'm working 70 hours a week and I'm like trying to get these leads. And so I started to have to lie to my boss, like, hey, I've got a dentist appointment when I was really going to look at a house. And eventually I landed my first deal and it was only a $2,500 assignment fee. And I maybe had, let's call it $4,000 total in my bank account. And I quit my job that same week because it was so real to me when I got that check. I was like, oh my God, I can do this. And if I have the time to do this, then I can really do something with this. Which, by the way, I don't recommend doing that, just so we're clear. That was stupid. I almost went broke a million times in that year, so don't do that. But yeah, and then from there, I mean, and then I landed my first $10,000 deal, and then my first $30,000 deal, and I kept investing money back into it, and I expanded to Oklahoma City. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and then from there, I went to 48 states, boom, and really started putting money into it. And then, but like I was talking about, the business started to consume my life. So I sold it to my partner because I started to hate it. So, but yeah, from there, obviously I transitioned into buying and holding real estate. And through my buying, I mean, I was just able to scale really fast to a really high net worth in a quick time. Because I mean, in 2021, I bought 17 houses that year, so you get on a roll and you really start to make some moves, and you can start to multiply really fast if you do it correctly.
Excellent. So Logan, you're a great example. And Jackie Cooper, tell Cooper, don't become an HVAC tech. That's not what he wants to do. Yeah, get him investing in wholesaling. There you go. Mom, just give him some money to get him started. There you go.
That's the goal, right? That's the goal. He can
All
he can live with me till he's 25. I'll give him that.
All right. So guys, we're gonna do our breakout rooms. So I have to stop the recording to do that.